Thank you, Bulavinaka, and good afternoon. As Sanaka has said, I do not want to make a long speech, but essentially to try and open up the floor and have discussions and questions asked. But essentially, as His Excellency the President Palau had mentioned, I mean, obviously oceans plays a significant part in the oceanic region. We are small island states, but as they say, large oceanic countries. However, it could remain essentially just a cliched term if we keep on talking about that, but without any action itself. Fundamentally, what we are looking at is, apart from the various protections that need to be put in place, including sustainable protections, we need to also ensure that the ocean does provide that source of livelihood in a sustainable manner. And sometimes I think when we do talk about conservation, environmental protection, we talk about the climate risks, etc., we also forget the socio-economic impact of sometimes putting in place these measures to protect our oceans. At the end of the day, we need our people live off the ocean. We need to understand that. So how do we actually manage those expectations vis-a-vis overexploitation, vis-a-vis getting into biodiversity or ecological systems that would fundamentally undermine the integrity of those systems. Of course, as we know, with the ocean, the health of the oceans is not only determined by what we do domestically, but determined overall by what the world does. Thus we have the whole climate change issue, globally speaking. So we all go off to COP, and as we know that Fiji, through its presidency of COP, wanted to bring or draw in the mainstream language the nexus between oceans health and, of course, climate change itself. And as we know, there is a direct link. As we all know, that the ocean is the largest carbon sink, and therefore it is having a deleterious effect on ocean life. And our ability to manage that is critically important when we have the entire globe working towards that. Apart from that, of course, is what do we do domestically, what do we do regionally, and those are some of the challenges that we do have in place. Of course, we are small island states, so we need to be able to work in partnership. We need to have cross-cutting initiatives because we don't necessarily have the economies of scale. And so I think, from the moral perspective, of course, the Pacific Island countries have almost negligible carbon footprint. But we also are taking steps in respect of reducing our carbon footprint, notwithstanding the fact it's very low. So a number of us have made the commitment of net zero emissions by 2050. We have made commitments in respect of the 30 by 30, which is the 30% marine protected areas of our EEZs by 2030. That's critically important. But as Sanaka mentioned, just to sort of tease that issue about the blue bonds, I mean, we had issued green bonds a few years back. With the first emerging economy to issue sovereign green bonds. It was great, as we said, optics were great, listed on the London Stock Exchange, but the interest rates were terrible. It's over 6% interest rate. We are currently working on a blue bond, again working with the UK on that, and hopefully get other partners like ADB. So this is where the real issue lies. The real issue is that if we want to invest in our oceans through the blue bonds and develop sustainable livelihoods, we need to be able to access affordable finance. And if we don't do that, then all of this can just simply be talk, and we won't be able to, let alone that, meet our SDG goals. 65% of our population lives within 5 kilometers of the ocean. And some other countries, of course, it's within a kilometer. The entire population lives within a kilometer of the ocean. So all of us are in a kind of very precariously hanging on to the edge. And in terms of the global effort to recognize this, access to finance is critically important, and more so, access to affordable finance is critically important. And how we use that finance, of course, again, it depends on the individual countries, and therefore I would urge all the individual countries to have a lot more transparency in how they intend to mitigate some of these risks, how they intend to provide, for example, sustainable livelihoods, how do they intend to use those funds for marine protected areas. Because the more transparent we are as individual sovereign states and have a very well thought out plan working perhaps with different partners to be able to get that level of nuance and sophisticated approach to it, then a lot more people will feel a lot more comfortable to be able to and want to invest in those initiatives that we'll put in place.